Hello, this is Brian. Today is Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, and I'm over here in the Laguna Mountains, not that far under Stevenson Peak, and it is time for a Spotlight on Shrubs video. So today, I want to spotlight this awesome shrub here. I know I pointed it out on a few occasions during hiking videos, but this time it is finally time for the spotlight. What we have here is the woolly Yerba Santa. This is Eriodictyon trichocalyx variety lanatum. So this plant, Eriodictyon trichocalyx variety lanatum, is a typically small, shiny, greasy leafed evergreen shrub, and it's a member of the borage family, the Namaceae. And it is often a pretty wide colony former. As you can see, we got some nice population going here. So what we have are these shrubs with very rich green and very greasy, shiny looking leaves. And that's typical for the entirety of Eriodictyon trichocalyx. Trichocalyx often has very shiny leaves, a lot of times very resinous and very greasy. A little bit of a shine to the foliage of this plant. Eriodictyon trichocalyx is a pretty widespread shrub here in Southern California, mostly in our mountains, higher foothills and mountains. But you can see it grows in these really nice populations, especially in areas of disturbance, like fire, cutting, and just general land disturbance. And you get these populations of these really nice shrubs that come back pretty quickly after the fires and other disturbances. So, as I mentioned, I'm looking at a specific variety, a specific variant of Eriodictyon trichocalyx. So, to the untrained eye, this is pretty much typical Eriodictyon trichocalyx. The hairy Yerba Santa. However, the difference is, the two varieties I'm aware of here in Southern California, Eriodictyon trichocalyx, variety trichocalyx, the hairy Yerba Santa, is a pretty common fixture in the mountains here in Southern California. It's especially prevalent in the Angeles National Forest over in Los Angeles County up in the San Gabriel Mountains. It's very abundant there. This variant here, I believe is pretty local here to San Diego, maybe Riverside County, but I will get back to you more on that on the screen. So what sets the varieties apart? It's the undersides of the leaves. Now, trichocalyx deals with the hairy calyx of the flowers. Then we also got the other sides of these greasy. Look at how white and silvery the undersides of these leaves are. That is a characteristic of variety lanatum, because there's a white pubescence of fuzzy trichomes underneath the leaves. So lanatum deals with the fuzziness of the leaves. So that's our main thing there. The underside of the leaf is very white and covered in trichomes, or hairs, plant hairs. And Yerba Santa is a pretty aromatic plant too. I can smell it. It's got a kind of a thick, sweet aroma. Not very unpleasant. I gotta admit, it can be pretty nice to the nose. Now, sometimes on very warm days, it can be kind of overwhelming, but for the most part, it's quite a pleasant smell. it kind of has like a smoky kind of aroma. Kind of similar, not exactly the same as, say, mule fat or creosote bush. It kind of has that aromatic, that smoky aromatic resinous smell. Again, like I said, it's pretty pleasant. It can be overwhelming if it's very warm and wet, like during an uncharacteristic summer rain. But let me just get a few pictures of these plants, and then we'll start talking about another great reason why I'm spotlighting this plant today. Okay, well, now that we're in spring, the end of spring going into summer, tomorrow is the summer solstice technically, tomorrow's June 21st. We are at the height of the higher elevation mountain blooming. So, perfect day to be here showcasing this beautiful plant. This is Yerba Santa in full bloom. Absolutely full bloom. These beautiful kind of 5-lobe corollas with a nice little corolla tube that extends down towards the base of the flower. An absolute big hit with all the honeybees and pollinating other species of bees and flies in the area. So whitish with a slight tinge of purplish, I would say, is probably more like it. So if you look at the plant from a distance, it does kind of have a slight purple haze to it. Very slight purple haze to it. Actually, it's more noticeable when you're further away. When you're up to it, when you're up closer to it, you can see more of the white flowers. But again, it has more of a purplish overtone. A lot of why it appears to be so much more purple from a distance is all the fuzzy buds. And in the flower stalks, there's some fuzziness on them. And the buds themselves are kind of a purplish color. So the reason why you get more of a purplish haze from a distance is you're also seeing the amounts of buds, the flower buds, the trichomes on the plant. So let's go ahead and start talking about some other items, because there's a lot more to talk about this beautiful plant. So, as I've mentioned, this plant forms a shrub. They start out very herbaceous and very vigorous, very fast growing when they get established. Areas of disturbance, as you can see, this right here is well on its way to becoming a shrub. These ones might have a little bit harder of a time because the soil here is a little worse. But over here, they can be very fast growing and they can get established very quickly after fire and other disturbance. But then when they age, when they get to many years old, and maybe even, I believe, at least they might be able to live for a couple decades, I would imagine, then they become these nice, kind of rugged looking shrubs that are a little more upright. Now, Eriodictyon trichocalyx as a species tends to be upright or low sprawling. And what I mean by upright, not as much upright as its close relative, the thickleaf Yerba Santa, Eriodictyon crassifolium, and its different varieties. Eriodictyon crassifolium A is generally a much taller, much more upright, less densely branched shrub with much thicker, wider oval-shaped leaves with a grayish fuzz on both the top and the underside. So that's Eriodictyon crassifolium, and the leaves are much thicker, thickleaf Yerba Santa. And the leaves on Eriodictyon trichocalyx are thinner in profile, and again with variety lanatum, the undersides of the leaves being very white and silvery. So it's a very attractive shrub, and when the stems get old enough, they form these beautiful contorted shapes and pretty cool looking gray bark. You can probably hear the bees buzzing. You gotta hear it on camera. Bees are loving these flowers. So let me go ahead and get a couple pictures of some of the other salient features of this beautiful shrub, and then we'll move on to our last few details before concluding this video on this awesome plant. Alright, so what is exactly a Yerba Santa? Well, besides a shrub in the borage family, Yerba Santa basically means sacred plant or holy herb in Spanish, because the leaves have been used medicinally to soothe respiratory illnesses and stuff like that. And I believe you can make it. I believe you can make a tea. I don't know how you do that. And again, ethnobotany is not my strongest suit, but I believe people have been able to make teas out of Yerba Santas. Now we do have quite a few other species, I believe. There are some other species of Yerba Santa, a couple of which I've seen here in California, including Eriodictyon californicum, which is the California Yerba Santa, which is very similar to Eriodictyon trichocalyx. Eriodictyon trichocalyx tends to have slightly larger leaves, but very similarly shaped, kind of resinous looking, maybe larger, a little bit larger leaves, and is found more. I've seen that one in Kern County and up into the Sierras. And of course, I told you about thickleaf Yerba Santa with the gray-green oval-shaped leaves and the very tall upright habit. There's one plant I have yet to do a spotlight on, and it is related to the Yerba Santas. However, this is a much different plant, and it's called poodle dog bush, Eriodictyon perrii. And that plant is not one you want to consume in any possible way, especially because it's very toxic, and just touching the plant can break you out into a nasty rash that could be worse than poison oak dermatitis. So ingesting any of it, I can't imagine ending well for anybody. So, like I said, the genus Eriodictyon includes the Yerba Santas, but also beware of Eriodictyon perrii, the poodle dog bush, which is less a woody shrub and more of a short-lived perennial subshrub, very upright, much larger leaves that kind of tuft around the sides of the stem like a poodle dog. I haven't seen any around here, so I can't really show it to you. But a lot of these Yerba Santas have been used medicinally. Like I said, be very careful if you do. Make sure you know what species are good for what, and for crying out loud, make sure you avoid the poodle dog bush variety, so you don't end up damaging yourself. But Yerba Santas are pretty well respected in our chaparral environments, especially on disturbed sites, but it can also be found on canyon slopes and sometimes underneath open stands of woodlands and conifer forests sometimes. But they prefer to be more out in the open where they get more access to sunlight. These are very much heliotropic plants. They love being out in the sun. So if you decide to grow any type of our Yerba Santa, make sure you have room for it to grow. It might colonize. Some of these are probably root clonal too. I would imagine some of these have to be root clonal. And make sure you got room for it, and make sure you got sun for it, because it's very much, again, a sun-loving plant. Very beautiful plant. And like I said, this particular variety is, I believe, is more endemic to the Peninsular ranges. In other words, the north to south mountain ranges in Southern California. I think more so in Riverside and San Diego counties. But again, I will put a little bit more information to that effect, just to make sure everything's clarified. It's just an absolutely awesome summer plant here, and the bees are just going bonkers over it. So there you have it, the hairy Yerba Santa, one of our local farms, Eriodictyon trichocalyx variety lanatum, here at Mount Laguna here in Cleveland National Forest. Thanks for watching my spotlight video. I hope you found it helpful in identifying yet another awesome plant, and it helps you be inspired to celebrate our beautiful natives by coming out here and checking them out in the field. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next spotlight.